Everything seems to be good. Just do a refresh here. Your vids are really helpful. Appreciate it. Yeah, no problem. Glad they're helpful. So, yeah, let's get started here. So, like I mentioned, this live stream is going to be dedicated to doing some JavaScript mini projects, which is always a good way to practice your JavaScript skills. So we'll be building a few little projects here. So the first one we're going to be doing is a countdown to date timer. So I have a little annotations here for each one of the projects that we're going to be doing. So we'll be doing a full page view here for this. We're going to allow the picking of like a date and also a title. I think that'll make this mini project more interactive, so we're not just specifying like a specific date, which really wouldn't make this little project that accessible. You know, you can now pick whatever date you want. We'll probably have to save some stuff to local storage, so that way local storage, so that way if you refresh the page, it's still going to exist. So we'll interact with that a little bit. And then we're going to do a countdown from the current date to the selected date, which is, you know, what a countdown timer is. So that's going to be the first project. The second mini project we're going to do is going to be the getting the current weather of your desired location. So we will be interacting with an API here. Someone says, hello, John. Audio is pretty solid and crisp. I appreciate that. So for the second project, we're going to be interacting with an API. We'll once again do a full page view for this. We'll center in the input to the middle of the screen that you can type out a location, and then we'll use that value inside of the input to reach out to our API and then return the current weather for that specific location that the user has typed out. And we will be using the Open Weather Map API for this. Now, the next one here is going to be the slide out animated navigation menu, which is something you are usually always incorporated into a project, or hopefully you are, with mobile being such a high demand, I guess you want to call, viewport now for a lot of websites. So it's very important to have a mobile navigation menu. So we'll be building something like this here. So we'll do a full page slide out navigation, and we'll also make it look good using some CSS animations here. Now the next thing is pretty cool. We're going to be building this Rgba background color change, and yeah, so this will have 4 sliders, one for the R value, for the gamma, and I think I don't know what the B stands for, and then you have the alpha, which is the 4 values of that. So we'll be creating some sliders to control that, and then it'll actually be controlling. So whenever you change the sliders, it'll automatically change the background color for that specific value in that Rgba property. All right, and the last one's pretty cool, as a lot of times you have to do a lot of research on this for what you're looking for. So it's going to be this keyboard event key code. So we're going to listen for a click on the entire page, and then once we click on that, we'll display the information for that key that you selected. And this is going to be helpful for a lot of projects where you might want to listen for a specific key to be entered on the keyboard or something when they're typing or, you know, doing whatever. And this will be a good little application or project to kind of display that information, which could be useful in many other projects that you may create later on down the road. All right, so let's get started here. So we'll begin with our countdown timer here first. So someone asked, will this stream be uploaded after? Yes, it'll actually be available on my channel. I know the previous streams that I've done, I haven't uploaded them to the channel officially, but this one will be available for you guys here on the channel after. Okay, so let's begin here, and we'll create a new file here for index.html. Then we'll also have one for our style sheet, and then we will create our app.js here. All right. So I will be using an extension called Live Server to preview this in. So I'll open this with Live Server here, and it opened up on this browser. So we'll open this up here, and then let's just add this to, let's put this right there. All right. So there we go. Oh, red, green, blue, alpha. Yeah, I knew it was something like that. So thanks, Jason. So first off, let's begin with kind of reiterating over our README here. So full page view for this, we want to have an input for the date selection and also the title. And then once they select the date and title, we'll have a button for them to press, and then we'll do the calculations based off the current date. So for the HTML, I'm assuming, or I'm thinking here, it's going to be pretty simple. So we'll use the body to center everything here. So we'll just say project 1, and we'll do count timer like this. So we'll use the body to center everything into the middle of the screen. So I'm assuming we'll need a div here to hold everything, and then inside of here we'll have an input with the type of date here, which you'll be able to select the date. And then to easily access this inside of JavaScript, let's just give it a class here, and we'll say date selector like this. And then we also want to have another input here for the title that they want to name this countdown event. So we'll call this event title, and we probably want to add some labels here to kind of clearly define what we're doing here. So we actually will wrap each one of these inside of their own separate div here. I think that makes sense. And then we'll add a label here, and we'll say for, and then we'll do date selector like this. So just copy that here, and we'll also give this an ID so that when you click on this label, it'll take you into this input here. All right, and we'll just say select date like this, and then we can just copy this down, and then we'll take this in here, and then we'll paste it inside of here, and then we'll say event title like this. All right, and then the last thing we want to have is just going to be a button to submit this. So we'll do a button here, and we'll say create countdown like that. All right, so there we go, and we'll just give this a class as well as our of create countdown. Okay, so that should be all the HTML we need. So if we take a look, it's probably going to be pretty bland. So if we refresh it here, we get something like this. So we can click on this right here, and I don't think it actually takes you into it like a, let's see here, actually this should be, let's do event title. And then let's also give this an ID of event title like that. But maybe for the date input, it doesn't actually work like that. So you can see here when I click on the label for the event title, it takes you right into the actual input here. But for the date, it doesn't really work like that. You still have to click on this to select your date here. All right, so pretty simple UI, nothing too crazy. So let's get into the styling here. So we want to push everything into the center of our screen here. And then to easily do that, we can just use so we'll say target our body here. We'll give it a height of 100 VH. And then we will just do display grid. And then we can place all the items to the center here. All right, and that should push everything to the center here. And oh, we didn't actually hook up our style sheet, so that's why I didn't do that. So link, and then we'll do our style.css, and now it should be into the center here. All right, so let's add a little styling here to make this look a little bit better. So let's add some classes here to these divs, and we'll do an input, and we'll do another input here, and then let's say input here, we'll use display flex to kind of give this a column, and then we'll do the flex direction here, and we'll do column like that, and that should put them in a column format now, so that looks a lot better. And then let's see, from here I think we can just add a little spacing here, and then we'll adjust them to make them a little bit bigger. So inside of our input we have a label and a date. So for the label, so we'll just target the label here. Just wondering when your view to do project will be able to watch. That'll probably be uploaded in a couple, probably like next week, I'm assuming. So let's see here. So for the label, we'll just display this as a block element, and then we'll give it some margin on the bottom to separate it from our input, we'll just do 4 pixels here. That should look good. And then for our inputs here, so actually for the actual whole entire thing, we'll just put a class of countdown creator here, and then we can just apply, or we can just set this to display flex and do some grid gap here to just add some spacing here, relatively easier. So we'll do countdown creator, and we can display this as flex, and we can do the flex direction to column, and then we can do some row gap here, and we'll just say like 16 pixels like that. All right, and that'll just add some spacing between all the flex items here, so everything's spaced out a lot easier without having to do margins on all the actual elements themselves. All right, so let's see here. So we got the date selector. Yeah, we'll just add some padding to the inputs to make them look a little bit better. So we can say input here, so we'll do all of them. We'll add some padding, so we'll just say like 8 pixels on the top and bottom, and then let's do 4 on the left and right, and that'll just add them, make them look a little bit bigger here. And then for the width of this countdown creator, let's just give it a fixed width here. So we'll do width, and 400 pixels should be good. And then for the inputs themselves, we'll just give them a width of 100% to take up all the space available, and that looks a little bit better. All right. So let's do some styling to our button here as well. So we're under the label, we'll just do a button here, and then let's just do some padding on here. So we'll do 12 pixels on the top and bottom, and then let's do like 16 on the left and right. That should look good. And then do we want this to be the full entire thing? I don't think we want that, so we can do align self to the flex start here, and that should push it all the way here to the beginning here, so it's not taking up the full space, which I think looks good. And then we can also fix the styling of that button, and then we can do a border of none like that to go to that border. And then we can add some rounded corners to that as well, probably look a little bit better. And we'll just do 10 pixels like that, just make it a little bit rounded. And yeah, I think that looks pretty good for now. It doesn't have to really be that great. We're kind of more focusing on the JavaScript here for this, so we'll just leave it at this for now. So what we can do here is we want to then hook up the JavaScript file here, app.js, to this index.html file. So we'll just do a script tag here, and then our src, and then let's get our app.js. So for the logic of this countdown timer, it's actually pretty simple. So what we need to do is we need to grab the actual date that the user has selected here. So for example, March 17th, and we want to convert, or we want to take that date and we want to get the current date, and we want to just see the time in between those two dates here. So first off, what we can do is let's just get our date here that the user selects. So we'll say const selected date, and then we'll set this equal to a document.query selector, and then we gave that a class of, I believe, let's see here, date selector. So we can grab this and then like that. All right. And then from here, we can then just log this out to the console. But the problem is when we first load into the page, this is going to run. So we also want to grab a hold of our button here, which is going to be this create countdown. So we'll just say create countdown, and got to do this camel case here. So did I actually not do that right? Create, oh, it's actually supposed to be countdown like that. All right. And then we'll select this class here, and we want to also fix the spelling. So then what we'll do is we'll say create countdown, and we'll do an add event listener here, and then we'll listen for a click, and then when we hear this click, we'll just log out to the console the current value of our selected date here. So we'll say console.log, and then we'll do let's see, selected date dot value here. All right, so now if we come over to our browser, we do an inspect here, And let me know if the zoom's good or if it needs to be zoomed in more on I might just do that just to make it look a little bit easier to view. So we'll just do one more zoom in here on the code so it's a little bit easier to see. So from here, now if we select a date, right, and we do March 16th, we can see we're going to get that value logged out inside of our console. All right. So what we want to do from here is we need to actually convert this into a date, and then we also want to get the current time. So what we'll do here is we'll say, so we have the selected date like this. So inside of this function, pretty much what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be creating our countdown. So we'll say const, and we can't really do selected date. So what would be an appropriate value for this? Let's see, create countdown, selected date. Maybe we'll just say time selected. Like this might not be the best name, but we'll just go with it. And then we'll say selected date, and then I actually want to do, it's called new date like this, and then we'll say selected date dot value here, and this will convert it into an actual date format for us. And then what we'll do here is we'll say const current time, and then we'll say new and then date like this, and that should give us the current date here. But we also want to tack on the get time method here onto the end of these. All right, so we'll do get time like this. So now if we were to log out these values here, so we should be getting like a really long value because it's going to be in seconds, I believe, or even maybe milliseconds. So if we say const time select, or sorry, we want to just console log these here. So console.log, we'll do time selected and then current time here. So now if we click on this button, so it's selected date here, we'll do March 17th, we're going to get these really long values here. All right, so obviously right now this isn't very helpful to us, so we want to convert these times into days, minutes, days, hours, minutes, and seconds. Okay, so how we can do this is, let's see here. What we want to do is, so now that we have that, we pretty much need to convert we want to actually get the time in between these two. So we'll say const time remaining here, and we'll set this equal to time, time selected minus current time like this, and that'll give us the remaining time that we have between the selected date and the current time, right? I think is that going to be let me see here, that actually might need to be reversed. And then we'll do time remaining here, so let's do this. And then if we select that, so yeah, that gives us a good value there. So I thought I may have reversed that. So now that we have the time remaining, we want to calculate the actual days, hours, minutes, and seconds. Okay, so what we'll do here is we'll say const, we'll do days, and then we'll set this equal to, and what we want to do as well, because we could end up getting like a decimal here, so to avoid getting a decimal, we'll use the math.floor here, and then we'll do all of our calculations inside of here. So what we want to do is a time remaining, and we want to divide this by, so what we're seeing right here inside of the browser, I believe this is seconds. So if that's seconds, we need to calculate how many minutes are in a second. So let's see here. Actually, these are milliseconds, so we want to calculate and do 1,000, and we're going to times this by 60 to get the seconds, right? And then there is, actually, wait a minute. So let me think about this. So there's 1,000 milliseconds is a second. So if we times it by 60, that will get us that'll give us the minutes, right? And then I think we want to times this again by 60 because there's 60 minutes in an hour. And then how many hours are there in a day? There is 24 hours in a day. I think that should give us the appropriate calculation for the day. So we'll say days here, and then if we select a date here, we do create countdown, and there we go, we get 16. So is that right? Today is the Today is a 6, so 16 plus 6. Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's good. So there we go. So now what we want to do is we'll calculate the hours here. So we'll say hours, and we can just probably honestly copy this function here. So what we want to do is we just want to say times, or we want to just remove the hours here, and then, or sorry, the 24, which was for the amount of hours in a day. So we'll say hours next, and then we'll just keep logging this out here. And then I believe we can just go down to minutes, and then we can times this. And then I think for seconds, it's going to be as simple as doing this here. And then we'll just do divide it by, that doesn't seem right, 1,000. Let me see. This doesn't seem like that may be right, but let's just check it out. So minutes and then seconds here. Okay. So let's take a look. If I select a date here, let's see how accurate this is going to be. So yeah, we got 11 days, 272, 16. That's actually not right. So let me see here. So we're taking the time remaining, times it by, or do we actually, let me take a look here at something, because that's obviously not right. So do a new window here, and we'll do, let's see. I want to see something how to calculate this, because I thought that's how we do it. Oh, you know what we're forgetting? we're forgetting to actually, now that we have this, we actually need to divide it by the actual value itself. So I think wait a minute. So let me see here. So if we have this, then we want to multiply this still by 24, right? Because that gives us the amount of days, but we also want to, let's see. All right, so maybe we want to say this instead. So that's going to be, and then we also want to divide this, let's see here, divide this by, then how many hours are there in a day? So 1,000 times 60, and then times 60 here, right? I think that should be what we're looking for. Let me see, let's try this again. And then the 24. So 17 and then 8. Is that actually right though? 8 hours. I think that's correct. And then let's see here. Now for the minutes, we want to do the same thing here. We'll change this out for that. And then we want to say times 60 here again, because we're doing 1,000 to get the minutes and then the hours. And then we want to then divide this by 1,000 here, and then times 60, I believe, right? I think that should be accurate. So we'll try this again, and then 25. Yeah, so we get the actual minutes here. So 18 days, 8 hours, 53 minutes here. Now we just need to calculate the seconds, which should just be, we kind of had this right here, we just forgot a little bit of the logic. So it'll be this right here, and then instead of saying 1,000, we still want to multiply this by 60 to obtain this, obtain the seconds, and then we just want to divide this by 1,000, because there is 1 millisecond. 1,000 here is equivalent to 1 second. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. Time can be very confusing to deal with in JavaScript, but hopefully this is not all too confusing. So if we just take a look at this now, do we get an actual logical answer here? So yeah, so 317 is 10 days, 8 hours, 52 minutes, and 51 seconds away. Okay, so that is going to be how we can actually calculate the time remaining here. All right. So now what we want to do is, okay, we have this, but the issue is we also want this to iterate every second, because we want to then have it keep continually going. We just don't want to have it static. We don't want to get it once and then we just don't have it anymore. So what we need to do is what they call a set interval here. So after every second, this will get updated. Okay, so let's see here. What we can do for this is, so once they click on it, we want to run a set interval. And then I believe this is what we want to do. And we want to run this every second here. All right, and then if we just take all of our logic in here and we paste it into there, I think that should work. So now, for example, if we select our date here, what's going on, universe? Welcome back, man. And if we select the create countdown here, you can see that now it's going to count down here. So you can see it's 9 days, 8 hours, 51 minutes, and then the seconds are going to iterate down here. So we should see once this gets down to 0 here, we should see this go to 50, and then it'll start back at the very top again. So let's take a look at this and make sure that's all working correctly. But I think that's going to be what we want to do. So now that we have the time being outputted here, then the next thing we want to do is we'll need to remove this here and actually create our countdown. So as you can see, it went to 0 and then it went to 50. So you can see that's working. So yeah, there we go. We may have to mess with a couple things here, because what'll happen, I believe, is as you've seen here, when it went from well, actually 0 would be fine. I don't think we'll have to do anything with that, but there may be some formatting we may have to do to kind of fix some things up here. So let's stop console. Let's stop logging us out of the console, because that's going to get quite tedious. So now that we know our logic works, we can begin actually creating the countdown itself. All right, so back inside of our index.html here, we have the countdown creator, and then we also want to have the div.countdown here. All right, now we only want to show this if we actually have a countdown to display. So what we'll do here for now is just do a class of display none like this, so we don't want to show anything in here. So to display each, actually for now, it's actually not, we don't have that class configured, so it's not going to matter now. So what we want to do is we're going to have, so for the countdown, we have the days, so we'll do div, and then we'll add a paragraph tag here. Actually, maybe we can do a heading tag here. What's up, Jason? Good morning, man. And then we can actually probably do a heading, so we'll just do an H1, I guess would be appropriate. So we'll do days like this, and then we'll have our output value here, and then we'll do our paragraph tag, and then we can say, well, we'll just use JavaScript, but we'll just say class, and we'll do days like this, and then let's copy this down. So we'll have our hours here, and then we'll say hours, and then we can do the minutes, and then lastly here, let's do the seconds. All right, and then seconds here. All right, so there we go. So then what we'll do is we'll need to use JavaScript to fill these in here. Okay, so if we go over to the browser now, you'll see we have something like this, which obviously doesn't look too great. So what we want to do here is, first off, let's do our display none class. So we'll just do this class at the very top. So we'll say display none, and we'll set this to display none. All right, so now we shouldn't actually we shouldn't see this here. All right, so wait, we didn't see that, right? Okay, so it's gone. So now what we can do is we can start to do some logic here. So once we click on the actual create countdown button here, we can, first off, let's target that class. So we'll say const, and then we can say, well, the issue is, I wonder if that class will be even available to us in the DOM if we do display none. We'll take a look at that. So let's see here. So we'll say count, what do we call this? The countdown. We'll do countdown timer. And we'll set this equal to a document dot query, let's see, query selector. And then we will say countdown like this. Is that the class we gave it, right? Yeah, countdown. All right. So then what we'll do is when we click on this, we will take that class off. So we'll say, actually, we also want to probably target this class as well, because once we click the button, we want to put the display none on here and take it off of here. So then let's see here. We'll just copy this down, and we'll say countdown creator like this, and then we can say, let's see here. So we'll do countdown creator dot class list dot add, and then we'll add display none here. All right, and then we'll just copy this down, and we'll say countdown timer, and we'll remove that class. All right, so let's test this out now. So if we select a date here and we say 16th, we do this, you can see that it doesn't seem to add it to this. So so countdown creator display none countdown. Oh, because we have it set to display flex, that's why. So actually, because of the specificity here, we should probably put this at the bottom so that it overrides anything that we actually have, right? That should probably fix our issue. All right, so there we go. So now that we have that, we will probably want to output our actual time here that we're getting from our calculations. So let's first do some styling here to our countdown itself, right? So what we'll do is we'll just come down here and we'll say countdown, and we'll do a display flex here, so that'll put it into a row, which is what we want. And then we'll do a column gap here to put some space between each column, and we'll say, well, let's do 16 pixels should probably be sufficient, and maybe a little bit more. Maybe we'll do like 32 pixels like that. All right, so then actually what I'm thinking is you could always order this with Flexbox, which maybe we'll do is to show you how we can do that. So what we'll do as well is we'll specify, because we could give these classes, but we don't need to. We can just specify all the divs inside of here, because that's all we have. So we'll just do countdown and then all the divs in here, and we'll display these as flex, and then do the flex direction to a column. All right. So we have that, right? So it's going to refresh every time. So we'll need to implement something like local storage to avoid that from happening. So create countdown here, we do that, and then we get shown our actual countdown here. So now we want to output this. So like I mentioned, we gave each one of these a class of days, hours, minutes, and seconds. So what we can do is we'll probably need to, let's see here. So we have days, we already have that specified inside of here. So maybe we'll do something like const days, days text, maybe that'll be fine. And then we'll do a document dot query selector here, and then we'll just do days. All right, and we'll copy this down 3 times, and then we'll say minutes. Then we have, or sorry, it's going to be, this will be minutes right here. This will be hours, and then this will be, let's see here, seconds. All right, there we go. And then we'll just say hours, minutes, and then seconds. All right. So now what we want to do is you want to then use JavaScript to set the days value in hours and minutes and seconds to these divs, or these paragraph tags that we have inside of our HTML file. So what we can do here is we'll say days text dot inner HTML is going to be equal to days. All right, and they'll copy this down like this. And there is other ways we can do this, but to kind of get the formatting I want, we need to create separate elements for each of these. We could just do like a full appending of like everything, but I feel this is a little bit easier way, or a better way to kind of handle the styling and stuff, to kind of give each like days, hours, and minutes and seconds its own individual element here. So hours text, and then we'll say minutes text, and then we have our seconds text here. So we'll set this equal to hours, and then we have, let's see here, minutes, and then we have our seconds here. All right, so let's take a peek and see how that looks. So now if we select our date here and we say the 17th, we click create countdown, we should have this updating here now. So as you can see, we have 10 days, 8 hours, 41 minutes, and 58 seconds. So that's all working great, but obviously we can probably fix the styling here on this because right now it doesn't look all that great. So yeah, let's do that, and then we'll also, or should we actually, we'll come back to this because it's going to be kind of tedious to update the, okay, let's stop that. It's going to be tedious to update the styling here if it keeps having to be rechosen. So what we'll do here is we need to do something that's going to look for when we come to the page. So what we should do is when we create the countdown, we should probably store something, or we should probably store the actual date they selected inside of local storage. So let's see here. So we'll say, actually, we don't have to even store this in a variable. So we'll say local storage dot set item, and then we'll say new. Actually, we'll just take this right here. Actually, wait a minute. We could just do this. So we'll say date selected, and then it will store the time selected here. All right, and that should work. So then what we'll do is when we load into this application, we need to check for that, and then if that's true, we want to run our functionality right here. So we'll probably want to create a function because we're going to have to run it twice if this is true. So what we're going to initially say is if we have a time already selected, then we'll just start running our actual logic here. So pretty much all of this stuff right here should be inside of a function itself. So yeah, right? I think that makes sense. So let's create a function for this. So we'll say const calculate time remaining here, and I think I spelled something wrong here, so I'll use my spell check. So let's see here, calculate, and I did spell that wrong. So calculate time remaining, and we'll set this equal to, hey, Ursran, I appreciate the donation, man. I really do. Thanks, man. I don't know if I said your name right, so I apologize if I did butcher that. So yeah, we'll create our function here, and we'll set this equal to an arrow function, and all the logic we want to store is going to be, let's see here, I think all of this, right? Actually, it's going to be, we're going to want to wrap this inside of a set interval too. So set interval here, and then we'll have our callback. And then we'll actually not do that. We'll just paste all this in here like this, right? So we'll just remove all this. We'll paste it inside of here. And then we want to do, we actually don't need to have this inside of a set interval anymore. So we'll do that. We'll get rid of this. So then once we click the button here, then we just want to run this calculate time remaining function. Let's see here. So we'll do this. So I believe that's all. And then inside of this function, actually, we can probably simplify this a little bit more. So actually, we want to, let's see here. So I think if we set it anyways, it'll always be available in local storage. Let's see here. Your videos help me with my college project. Oh, I'm glad to hear that, man. That's awesome. I'm glad you could, I'm glad that could be of help. So let's see here. Where were we at? So if we are we don't really have a need to store this here besides me just doing the setting of our local storage item. The only thing I can think of is we can maybe pass a param here, or like a parameter on this function to see if we have a time. Otherwise we'll get it from local storage, but I don't know if that's going to add any use, because we're going to have to do an if check, so it's going to make our code a little bit more bloated here, or if we just, since we're setting the item here, do we just get it from local storage? But then that's going to execute every single time, right? We don't want to have that happen. We just want to do it once. So yeah, I think what we should do here is we can just actually get the item from local storage. So to simplify this even more, let's just actually remove this, right? We'll get rid of this and we'll just paste this in like that. All right, and then we'll run our function here, and then we'll just say const and then do time remaining like this, and then we'll set it equal to local storage dot get item, and the item that we want to get is going to be this right here, and I believe that should do it. But the problem is now we don't have access to that inside of here, right? So every second, because now that's inside of this interval, so it doesn't have access to this. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a second here. So time selected. So if we say time selected like this, there we go. That's what we want to do. So that was actually wrong. So we're going to get time selected. We're going to grab it back from the date selected here, and then we're going to calculate the time remaining. All right, so that should work. So let's take a look. So I believe if everything is done right, it should still work as it was. So now if we click on 17th here, we create the countdown. It's still working here. If I do a refresh, you can see that it's still showing this. And why would that be? So, because we're not actually running the function when we first run into this application. So we want to say if, and then what we'll do here is we'll look for the local storage date selected. So if this exists, then we will just simply run our calculated time remaining. Otherwise, what we'll do is nothing. We don't want to do anything. All right, so there we go. So now if we select a date and we say the 17th, everything works as it should, I believe, right? Let's see, create countdown here. It's actually not working anymore. Can't access calculate time before declaring it. Did I? Oh, duh, yeah. Makes sense. Put that actually right here. So there we go. And as you can see, we now see the time here. And if I even do a refresh, we still see the time. All right, so that's working as expected. But we probably should also do something to clear this out. But for now, we'll just leave it as it is. So let's do some styling here to this. So let's first off, to make this easier, I think what I'll also do is let's just add the this into here, and then that way we can see both of these at the same time. I think that'll probably be a little easier to navigate here. So let's close this up, and then let's do something like this. So what we did here is we have our countdown div, and we set it to display flex, and I think we can also do align items to the center here. That should push everything to the center, make it look a little bit better. And then what we'll also do is we'll start to target all of our paragraph tags inside of here. So we'll say countdown div and then all the paragraph tags inside of here. Let's give this a little bit higher of a font size. So we'll say font size, and we'll do, let's try 24 pixels, see how that looks. That's not bad. And then we also want to target the countdown div h1 here. And we'll give this a font size. Actually, we want to get rid of the margin on the bottom. So we'll do margin bottom and then 0 like that. And then also one thing we didn't do was a reset here. So we want to get rid of all the default padding and margin and everything. So we'll just do a margin of 0, a padding of 0, and a box sizing of border box. All right, so that's going to get rid of the padding completely. From that, so then what we want to probably actually do is add some padding here. So we'll just do, let's try like 8 pixels. How does that look? Maybe like 16. Try 16. There we go. That looks good. And then we can probably also just add a Google font here to make this look a little bit better. So let's go over to Google Fonts like this. And then let's see here. So I always tend to like to use the Poppins font. It's always a good choice. So we'll say Poppins like this, and then let's just remove these here, and then we'll do let's just do light, and then we'll do a medium font. We don't need to do anything crazy, and then we'll just import these into our style sheet like this at the very top. So let's just add this back here, and then there we go. And then we'll just add our font family to our body tag, and that should fix our issue here, or actually give us a better looking font than the normal one. So then we'll do, I'll just paste this in like this, and there we go. So that obviously looks a lot better. And then, yeah, I think that's about all we want to do here. Actually, there's a few things. So if we take a look, we can't really see now. So one of the issues we may have is, let's actually comment this out here. So we have this event title that we gave our creator here. So obviously you want to do something with that. So let's see. So first off, we want to create a button here on the actual countdown itself here. So on our countdown, what we want to do is, this may actually change some things here. So where would we want to add this at? So I guess this doesn't really necessarily need to be something that's done well, not like done well, but I guess since it's kind of like a little mini project, we don't really need to worry about the how this would affect user experience, or adding like a remove feature here. So I think what we do for now is just wrap everything in another div here, because we want to still style this as a row, but we're going to add a button here within this countdown actual display. So then what we'll do here is, outside of this div that's wrapping our actual countdown, we'll have another button here, and we'll just have this say clear, and we'll do clear event like this. Okay, so now that we did that, we're gonna have a few issues with our styling here. So as you can see, the countdown is gonna have to be a flex direction of a column here. And then we'll also have to, let's see here. So this will be the countdown. Maybe we actually call this countdown wrap, and then we actually, this is the actual countdown here, which may fix things a little bit for us. So actually, let's do this, and then we'll just do countdown wrap here, and we can say display flex and a flex direction of a column, and that should not actually affect too much of the things that we already have set up here. So let's try this out now. So for example, if we click on a date here, create countdown, we actually don't see anything. And do we get an error or something here, or what's going on? Oh, because guess what? We did this as, let's see here. So we have countdown wrap here, and there we go. I think that'll fix it. Take a look, create countdown, and there we go. So what we want to do is probably just center that button here. So since we're doing flex, we'll just say align items to the center like that. Or let's see here. Oh, because we're doing, it has to be justify content to the center. That's right. Wait, what? Why isn't that? Let's see here. So we take a look at the countdown wrap, right? Display flex, and then why wouldn't this work? Align items to the center. Wait, why wouldn't that? So we have the countdown, then we have the button. Oh, because we have align self flex start on the button already there. Okay. So maybe what we should do here is, so we have the button, so maybe we say, probably what we can do here is create a generic button class, right? So we want to have two buttons here, but then what we do is we get rid of this, and then instead of just targeting the button here, we'll say countdown creator button, and then we just say flex like this, and there we go, and that should center it there for us. So there we go. Centering things is always the biggest challenge. Yeah, for something so simple, it can definitely be a tedious task. Like as you've seen right there, we had an override happening with our buttons. So normally it's not bad to center things. It just can become kind of tedious with messing with the height and stuff to get into the center. So there's a lot of different things that can, play a part in making centering things challenging, but it's definitely a lot easier than it used to be back before we had like Flexbox and now even Grid. So yeah, it's really not all that bad, but it definitely can be a head scratcher sometimes. So let's see here. We have the countdown wrap, so we have to probably clear some space in between here. So let's do a Rgba property, and let's just do 32 pixels to kind of add some space there. Maybe even like 64, because let's get out of the way. So there we go, clear event. And we probably want to add a class to this as well so we can target it easily. And we'll say clear event like this. And then inside of our JavaScript here, it's getting kind of messy with the variables here, which is okay. Not too big of a deal. So where we have our create, we'll just do this right here. So we'll say const clear event, and then we'll say document dot query selector, and then what we can do here is just say clear event like this, and then we'll re-enable this so that it has our event here that it's going to get for us. But now what we want to do is if we hear a click, so we'll do add event listener here, and we'll listen for a click. So if we click this, we know that we want to remove that event from the user's browser here. So what we can do is, first off, we want to remove that item from local storage. So we'll say local storage dot remove item, and we'll say date selected here. All right, so that's the first part. Now the next thing we want to do is you want to take this view away right here, and you want to re-show the creation one. So we'll just grab this right here, and we can also probably create a function that will do this for us, but I don't think it's going to be too big of a deal to do this twice. So we'll say countdown creator, and we will, let's see, we want to remove that class and we want to add it here. All right, so let's take a peek here. So now if we were to click clear event here, we should see that nothing happens. And let's see, why would that be? So let's take a look. That should work, I would assume. And do console. So in our index.html here, we have a button with clear hyphen event. Clear hyphen event. We're listening for a click on here. We're removing that, and then we're removing the display none off the countdown creator, and then we're adding it to that. Okay, so that worked in theory, but we need to look at why it didn't work overall. So let's click right down here. So it's not automatically reverting this view. Do I have something wrong here? So countdown creator, that's the countdown creator, that makes sense. And then wait a minute. Countdown. Yeah, that should hypothetically in theory work. Let's take a look here. So right now it's like how it should be, and then we click on 10 here, so that switches. So now we have it here. Okay, so it's actually, wait a minute, what? So why would that be the case here? So you can see that it's actually countdown wrap, right? Countdown timer. We're adding display none, and we're removing it here. So why wouldn't that work? Okay. That's interesting. So if I click it here, you can see that it's not removing it. But when I come back here, it is. So what's going on here? That's interesting. It's probably something very tedious or very small. So we're removing the item here. It's not gonna recall this item, right? Because it wouldn't, and then create countdown. Yeah, clear event. Clear event. So if we click this, click on that, we have countdown creator, display none, which is what we want. We don't want that shown, and then we have our countdown wrap. So when I click on this, for some reason, am I like really like missing something here? So countdown creator, we want to remove that class. So let's just see something here. I want to click on this, do that. For some reason it's not actually removing that class from there, but why? Is something else getting fired here that I'm missing? So nothing else should be firing here. That's still running, so obviously, oh, wait, no, that shouldn't matter, right? Oh, no, this is, okay. So, yeah, that's the problem. So what's actually happening here is when we clear this, the interval isn't breaking. Aha, so that's the problem. So then it's just automatically adding it back. So, what do we do there? How do we break out of a set interval? I think you have to like clear the interval, but the problem comes in where it's still running inside of here. So it's really not as easy as just stopping that. Let's see here. Unless we only let this, only I can think of here, this might be a solution. And this may not be the best solution, but it's what I'm thinking here on the spot, since I haven't actually created this ahead of time, is maybe we say only if time selected is true, we do this, right? But I think it's still gonna run regardless until we break out of it. I don't know. Let's see if this actually fixes our problem. Like I said, this may not be the best idea, but it's kind of what I'm thinking up on the spot here with how we created everything. So, for example, now if we click on this and create our countdown, we clear it. It does, oh well, I didn't actually redo that. So let me see here. So create countdown, clear event. Now that still doesn't seem to fix our issue, right? Because if we click on it, it's still actually running the interval. Let me see how to break out of a set interval. Let's see, stop interval colon JavaScript here. So, we need to call the clear interval. Okay, so maybe we just set the time here. So maybe we'll do, let's see, const, and then what we can do, so we probably wanted to reassign this to here, right? Or maybe, all right, so let's see here. How do we want to do this? Because we need to pretty much clear this right here. So maybe we'll say, or maybe we do let interval, just do like that, and then we say interval equals this. So if this isn't true, then we'll say else we want to clear interval and then say interval like that. And I think that should solve our issue. Maybe while instead of if in line 3. I don't think that's going to fix our issue because the interval is going to keep going no matter what. So I think this should actually fix it with doing a clear interval here if time selected is not true. So let's give this a try, and I think that should work. So 16, create the countdown, clear it, and that still doesn't work. Why? we're removing it from the storage, right? So even if like, interesting, I want to see why. So console.log and say time selected here. So is that going to, if I click this, every time that should be reaching out to that, right? It's not. Oh, so it's actually not retrieving that every single time. That's right. So that's actually not going to be logical. So actually, interval. Can we actually clear? So the problem is, yeah, the if is only called once. Yeah, I just forgot about that. We're not actually calling that every single time, so that's actually not going to work. So we can't break in. Can you break an interval from within the interval though? I wonder. Let's see. So we'll say const interval like this. So this actually has no significant meaning here anymore. So let's just get rid of all of this logic inside of here, right? So we'll do that. So I'm wondering now, can we actually clear this if we look inside of here and we say if this is not true, so if we go if this is true, otherwise, so we'll take all this logic inside of here like this. So if that's true, otherwise, I don't think you can actually do this though, clear interval. I don't know if that's going to actually clear our interval or not. Let's take a look at that. Let's see if that works. Well, it's actually it's a method, so try that. Let's see here. So if we were to refresh this, which is how it's supposed to be, so if we clear the event, there we go. Okay, we can actually do that. And then if we refresh it here, still works. And if we do a new date here, 24th, do that, it's working, clear it. All right, cool. So that's actually how we can do that. So that'll solve that issue. So the only other thing, this seems like it's way more complicated than it needed to be for a countdown timer, but since we added that little bit of extra logic in here, you can see that it definitely added some struggle in here to kind of configure that, which is fine. You know, it's going to happen. So if we hit 30, we create this. Whoa, what's going on with that? So clear event. What was that about? 30? That was a weird mishap right there. All right, so yeah, I think that's good. So the only thing that we really want to do is kind of add our event title here. So where we have the countdown here, we'll just add a, let's see. So we gave all these H1s, right? Which probably doesn't make sense now for, I guess it's fine. We'll just do another, you're not supposed to have more than one H1 here. So yeah, let's just change all these to, let's see here. So do all these to H2. Heading 2 like that, and then we'll say heading 2. There we go. And let's give this a font size of 32 pixels like that, and yeah, there we go. So then let's add our title here. So we'll say class countdown title, and then we'll just use JavaScript to insert that. Now the only other issue that we have here is that we don't have any way to get that right now. So let's go back up to our countdown creator here, and then let's see here. So we have this as the event title class. So inside of our JavaScript, what we'll do is we'll say date selector, we'll come down here and we'll say event title, and then do event title like this, and then there we go. All right, so then once we are creating our countdown here, we want to create, I think we're going to have to do, I think it's what a JSON, hang on, let me look here again about sending stuff to local storage. So sending, unless we just create, no, I don't want to do that. Object to local storage here. I think we have to stringify it first, right? I always get this confused. So local storage. So yeah, we want to stringify that. So what we'll do here is we'll still call it date selected, or maybe we'll change this to event date selected, because it's more than a date, right? So definitely don't want to just say that. So let's just copy all the instances we have here, and we'll call this event. Do event. We'll just call this event. All right. Maybe we'll do new event. All right. Yeah, we'll just call it event. That's fine. So then what we want to do here is we're going to send an object, right? Because we're going to have the title and the date. So what we need to do here is inside of here, we'll just say, let's see, JSON, let's see, JSON.stringify, and then we'll stringify a new object here. And let's just do this so it's a little easier to read. So then we have the object here, and then I think like that should work. And then we'll say date like so, and then we'll have the event title. So we'll say title, and then this will be the event title dot value here. Event title dot value like this. Now, once we retrieve it here, it's not going to just be as simple as actually setting it equal to the event here. We're going to have to do a parse on it. So what we'll do here is we'll say const event, and we'll do a local storage dot get item, and we want to parse this this item here. So we'll say JSON dot parse, and wait a minute, actually, let's see here. Yeah, we're going to want to do, actually, sorry, it's going to be, we're still going to get event here, but we want to parse the whole thing. So JSON.parse like this, and there we go. So now what we'll do is the time selected will be event dot, I think we just gave it a date, right? We said date, yes. So will be the date here. So we're going to say if this item still exists, because we're still removing the whole entire thing here when we remove it, so that doesn't have to change. So I think that logic should work now. So for example, when we actually create this here, what we'll do is, so we say const event, and then we want to say the event title here. So when we start calculating this, we'll just say event title dot inner HTML is going to equal the event dot title like that. So there we go. That should be good. So let's try this out, and we'll say the 23rd, and we'll say my new event here. All right, and we don't see that. Awesome. Let's see why. So event title here. Oh, that's right, because it's actually right here. So we'll say class countdown title. All right, that's probably why. So back inside of here, let's just do right here. So we'll say countdown title, and then countdown title, and then instead of saying the event title, we'll say countdown title. And there we go. We have my new event. And if we clear this here, you can see that it's no longer working, probably because we messed up some JavaScripts here. It says, hello, sir. I wanted to thank you for the great tutorials. They were very helpful in my first junior front-end job. Keep up the good work. Oh, awesome, man. Glad to hear they were helpful enough to get by with your job. It's awesome to hear. It's definitely why I enjoy doing this, to even see a couple people get use out of it like that, and be able to, get a job, or, be helpful within their job or something like that. It's always a great feeling. So I appreciate that, and you reaching out here. So let's see here. So it's not clearing anymore. So what's the deal here? So if we clear the event, we're removing the item event, and then we're saying if this item still exists. Oh, it's because it's event. There we go. So let's try this out here and see everything works correctly. So we can select a date. We can do my new event here, and we can create the countdown, and there we go. It is working. So it is 9 days 8 hours, 7 minutes, and 42 seconds here. So if we clear the event, you can see we get taken back to the screen right here. But the one issue is we're not clearing out the values here. So what we can do here initially is when we create this, we can actually probably clear that out. So let's actually do that as well. So we can say the, what is it called? The select date dot value, and this set this equal to, I believe we can just do null. And then we can say event title dot value equals null. So let's try this out fully here. So let's create a new event, and we'll say John's event here. Create the countdown. We see that, we clear it, and there we go. It is back to an empty slate here. All right, so I believe that is it for the first project. Obviously, we could add some additional styling here to this, but I think we'll just leave it as it is for now to continue on with the project here. But if you want to enhance this by doing some UI updates, feel free to do that, as it's, you know, never a bad thing to have a little better UI here. But it works, and yeah. So the next project here we're going to work on is for getting the current weather of your desired location, and we're going to start to interact with an API here. So let's close all this out for now. We won't need it here, and then let's go into our project 2 here, and we'll start to create our files. So we'll do an index.html, then we'll have a style.css here, and then we'll also do a app.js as well. So all the same files for this project as well, and then we'll just do our boilerplate here with Emmet. And then let's actually link up all of our stuff here first. I forgot to do that last time. So we'll say style.css, and then let's hook up our script tag here. And let's do this a little bit better. So we can say script, and then we'll do our app.js here. Okay, and then we'll say current weather like this, and there we go. And so I don't forget, let's just actually go back to project 1, and let's grab the same font and the resetting here. Okay, so there we go. And then let's close this. We have our style sheet here, and we'll do this, and then we'll open this up with live server, and we have our current weather. All right, so there we go. So the first thing I want to do is, because we are going to be using an API, so we need to do we're going to be using it, making an API call, and we could use the default what we call fetch inside of that's what we can use to make our HTTP request. But I like to use Axios. So what we'll do here is we're going to go to cdn.js here, and I'm going to use a library or a script here called Axios. And I use this a lot within all my videos. It's just a preferred HTTP client for me that I like to use. So we're just going to copy this, and then we'll include it here within our index.js file, so we can make a call using the Axios library instead of fetch. All right. And the really only main difference that we don't need to do with Axios as we do with fetch is we don't need to like actually convert it to JSON. It's already done for us, so it just kind of makes it a little bit more convenient. So I tend to like to use Axios as just a preferred preference, but if you use fetch, there's nothing wrong with that as well. So let's first off, let me go to actually get the API credentials, because that's what we're going to need to actually make our call here. So I believe what we want is called the Open Weather API. So let me see, here it is. And I'll bring this over on my other screen. And here we go. So this is what we're going to be using. So we're probably going to want to use the get current weather data here. And I don't know if we need an API key. So let me sign in here on the other screen. So we'll sign in here. And I think I had an account already. Let me see. And there we go. So we're signed in, and then I'll just bring this back over here. All right. So let's take a look here. So like I mentioned, we probably just want the let's see, API. We want to get the current weather here. So it's pretty easy. As you can see, we can do it using the latitude and longitude, but I'm also sure you can do it using the actual name that you want. Let's see here. So I thought there was at least. because that's going to be a little issue if we have to do the coordinates of where we're at. Let's see here. Is there any other way to make the call? I thought you could get current weather. And it looks like latitude and longitude here. So let's take a look. Let's see. Let's go back here. Go back. So one call API. So kind of, maybe it's this one. I know there's one I've done before. You can just pass in the name, but maybe they changed it to latitude and longitude now. Let's see here. Yeah, you used to be able to just pass in a city name, I thought. So they have a geocoding API as well, but that seems kind of... I don't really know why that would be like that. It never used to be like this where you could just... I thought you could just call it the city. I know you used to be able to do that. So I created an application, I thought, using this before, and it used to be able just to call it right when you... So let me see, daily. Does one of these have it? Like where you can just use the... So it looks like they changed everything to latitude and longitude now. So you may have to use your geocoding API to actually get the latitude and longitude, and then take that latitude and longitude and then actually make our requests. So let's see here. This adds a little bit more complexity to such a small little thing as well. So what we'll do here is, let's see. So we need to get our API key first off here. So my API keys, which it doesn't really matter if we make this, so we'll just generate one for live stream here, and we'll generate and create API key from. There we go. Okay. So now that we have our API key here, we can copy this. Actually, wait, can we not make this easy to copy? Okay, so obviously when you're doing API requests, the way you should do these, well, let me rewind myself here. So you should never really expose your API key to the front end, and that's exactly what we're doing here. But since we're just practicing building like a JavaScript project, this isn't really a big deal, and I wouldn't really worry about it too much. We're just going to learn how to interact with an API, but normally you wouldn't want to expose a API key on the front end, as someone else could get a hold of it, and then obviously they could use that API key. And if it's something that you're paying for, obviously they could exploit that. So just wanted to point that out, as whenever I do any JavaScript projects that expose API keys to the front end, just know that it's usually not the way you want to do it. You want to make those calls on the back end, or if you're using like a service or something like that, you can do something to lock down your database. But just wanted to point that out. So obviously we'll just do an API key variable here, and then we'll just set it to, actually it's got to be a string. All right, and then for the geocoding here, we'll just store, are they both the same? That's what. So we'll go back to the API docs here. So is it API, are they different? Open weather map. These are a little bit different. So let's just actually practice making a request here to this API. So first off, let's just do const, we'll do a function here, and we'll say get lat longitude, and so it's equal to a function, because we're going to have to create a function to actually get the latitude and longitude, which will then pass to get the weather. So this call right here, so let's just add this in here. So what we'll do is we'll set, and this also needs to be in async and await, because we need to await the incoming response from the API here. So we'll say const lat long equals await axios dot get here. and then what we can say is this right here. But let's see, const lat longitude. Wait, what? So we do that. So const lat long equals. Why is it giving me an issue here with this? Await let's go. So const. We'll call this get chords. So if we do, oh wait, did I have parentheses in there or something? That's probably what it was. I was wondering what was up with that, but I think I seen the problem. So let's see, expected a colon. Oh, sorry, this should be async. Async, there we go. Okay. Let's see here. So then what we want to do is, so we're going to create a function here called get chords, and then we'll make our call here. So we'll say const lat longitude is going to be equal to await here, and then we'll say await axios dot get, and then we'll paste this in like this. So I actually want to do some interpolation here, and then we'll use the API, app ID will be our API key like this, and then we can get rid of all of this right here. I think we can just do the city name, so we can get rid of all this like that, and let's just say Detroit here, and let's see what this gives us back. So we'll do console.log lat lang like this, and then we just want to call this function here when we first run this application. All right. Jason Walker brackets. Yeah, I definitely missed that. Sometimes when I'm coding here live, I for some reason make the dumbest mistakes, and I miss something like that. I do it all the time, so it's not anything uncommon, just that you see those things happen when I'm actually doing this live. So let's inspect this here. So if we look at our console here, where Axios is not defined. Oh, because I called it before. There we go. Unauthorized, really? I just copied. Let's see. So our API key, I just got it from here, right? Did I miss something? So it's active. Or is this different for geocoding? I don't think it would be. Oh, limit? I don't think we need to pass a limit. Let's try that. Let's see. So it's still unauthorized. Why is it unauthorized? We have an API key here, right? It's active, right? And did I paste this in right? Let me just try adding it here. Unless I missed something on this document. An app ID is going to be your API key. Yeah, so let's just actually remove this here and see if that works. So no, it's still unauthorized. Let's try using my other one here. So the key, let's try doing this. Maybe that key is not yet like accepted yet. I don't know why that is. That's what makes the live coding great. The problem solved together. Yeah, definitely, for sure. It's definitely a different experience. Like for me, it's definitely different coding live, as you know, you think that making mistakes is kind of a bad thing, but it kind of just shows, because I feel like the interpretation, like when you interpret as like a developer, you see like in doing these videos, you know, you don't really get to see the you know, kind of the behind the scenes of, you know, I always say this, but like when you code, you make a lot of mistakes, a lot of problems, and what you see in the videos I create are like polished off project, which I'm just kind of cloning and kind of teaching you guys what everything's doing. So you don't really get to see the all the kind of problems you encounter, you know, while creating such a simple application as in this, where I had brackets around my entire function here. Yeah, but for some reason this API key doesn't seem to be active. Like if I paste this one inside of here, it just seems to give me an unauthorized for some reason. So I'm not really sure why that is, but we'll just go with it, and then we'll just paste it in here. I don't know why the new one isn't working properly, but I guess we really won't question it. So we'll say API key like this. And there we go. So we're getting our data back, and inside of here we have the lat and longitude. So then what we'll have to do here is we'll have to create something on the front end of our application, which in our index.html file, that's going to capture the city name, which is what I interpreted, but we're going to have to do one extra step here to kind of get the latitude and longitude for that specific city that they're typing in, and then we'll make our call to the actual weather app here. So then what we'll do with that is we'll say, so that's going to store our latitude and longitude. So then we'll make another call here. So maybe we should say, maybe we should call this get city info like this, and then we'll say const lat maybe we'll say const lat longitude is going to equal an object here, and then we'll say lat is going to be get city info, and I believe it just came back inside of a data, so it came back inside of an array. So we have a couple options here. We can just do I guess the first option in the array, so we can just say get city info, the first object inside of that array, and then say lat like this, and then we can do another property here called longitude, get city info, do 0, and then say longitude here. All right, and it's saying cannot read properties of lat. So let's do console.log. Oh, maybe it's data. I think it's data. So get city info dot data and data like that, and there we go. Okay, so that'll fix our problem. Then what we want to do is we'll come into here, we'll copy this call. So we're storing the latitude and longitude that we need, and then we'll use that to get the weather. So we'll say const get weather, and we'll do another await here because once again we're going to be making an API request. So we'll do axios.get, and then we want to actually do our backticks here for interpolation, and we have that, so unknown word, so we'll just say add it to our user settings so we don't have that issue, and then we'll just add our API key here. So we'll do this, and then for the lat here we can just say money sign like that, and we'll do lat lang dot lat, and then for the longitude same thing, we'll just do a money sign here. They already give us the brackets, and then we'll do so L and G like that. All right, so there we go, and that should give us the weather. So then we'll say console.log, and we'll do get weather here. Okay, so let's take a look. So that's the wrong way, that's my desktop. So right here we can see that it is not working, so it's saying not found, it's undefined. So let's see the problem. So lat lang dot lat, and then that should be working. So we're passing in Detroit, so we can do an investigation here and see what's happening. So if you go to your network tab, whenever you're making API requests, you can just come into here and we can see what we're sending along. So as you can see, the longitude is not defined. So why is that? Oh, maybe it's actually, oh, you know why? I bet you this comes back as, I think it's LO, what is it called? LON is what they call it. So longitude, I guess that makes kind of sense. It's probably because that's like that. So then we'll say LON, and then we could probably change this to be consistent here. LON like this, like that, and like that. Let's try that. So if we do a refresh here, we're still getting a bad request here. So what's the issue now? So it's saying it's not found. That's interesting. A not found. Let's do a console.log here to make sure that I'm looking at this right. So actually I want to do the get city info one as well. So we'll say get city info here. And then let's take a look here. So we get this array back, has the data, it has the lat, it has the longitude, and we're passing that here. So we're saying the lat long here, lat, and then we're saying the lat long, LON, and then we have our API key. So why wouldn't this be found? I'm just curious for some reason. I don't know why this would be the issue, but I'm just curious. So yeah, not found. It's interesting. Are we missing something inside of the call? That's also a possibility. So maybe we need to do the HTTP on here. I don't know if that's what it's missing, but let's try that. Might be the issue. HTTP, let's see. Aha, so yeah, I don't know why in the documentation they don't have that here, so they may want to fix that so it's easier to copy. Thanks, Jason. Yeah, you caught that just as I did. Probably. I know the chat's probably a few seconds behind, but I just seen your message too. So there we go. So we have our current weather, and if we look into the data here, we have all this good stuff right here. So what we probably want to display is going to be, let's see here. So we have the weather. Where's the actual like weather? Oh, temperature right here. So we have the main. So maybe we'll display all this information right here. Okay. So now that we have like the logic kind of set up here, let's start to incorporate something. So what we want to do is this value right here needs to be dynamic. We want to be able to type in a city of our choice and then output the correct weather for that city they choose. So we can remove this right here. I just want to log out of the console now, the weather. So what we'll do here is inside of our body tag, let's start to create the actual appearance of this. So I'm going to close this out for now. And what I'm thinking is I'm tired of looking at a white screen here. So actually, we're not going to get there yet. So we'll use the body to center everything again, like how we did with our previous project. So we'll use that as our container. And then we want to just probably create another div here to hold everything. And then all we want to do is we'll have a div for the input again. So we'll give this a class of input here. We'll have our label, and we'll say this is for city. And then we'll say, not select, we'll say, yeah, we'll say choose, or yeah, we'll say enter city. Like this, and then we'll have an input here. So type a text, name, I guess we can just say the city, and then the ID will be city as well. All right, so we have that right here. And then what we want to do is then below that, what we'll probably maybe above it, I guess it really doesn't matter. We'll just do our current weather here. All right. And then we'll just say, so what do we want to display? We probably want to display like the city name that we typed in. So we'll do an H1 here, and then we'll say a class here of city title. And then we'll just give some general information about the weather. So what do we have here inside of this request coming back to us? So in the data, what we have here is the temperature max. So right now, what is this coming back in? So it feels like this must not be like Fahrenheit, which I'm sure we can change. Units here. So standard measurements, we want imperial, I believe it is. So we'll just say units here on the end of this call, right? And we can say oops, it's got to be units equals imperial, and let's see what that gives us. I don't know if that's what I'm looking for or not, but yeah, so temperature 54, that's actually what it is out there right now. Pretty warm here actually, for March. So yeah, that's good. That's what we're looking for. So what we'll output is the temperature, maybe we'll output like the min, the max, and then what it feels like right now. Okay. So I'll create another div for this, and say temp like this, or we'll say temp info, and then we'll have some let's see, we'll do kind of similar how we did with our countdown timer. We'll have a div here for each one, and we'll say an h2 here, and we'll go current weather, or current temperature, current temp, spell, I don't even know what that is, so it's actually just current temperature like this, so current temperature, and then we'll just do a paragraph tag here and say class current temp like this. So I believe we have the current temp we were going to do right, and then let's see here. So that'll be the feels like, and then, or we can just do the temperature, and then we'll say high, and then we'll also do a low. So let's do this. So current temperature, high, and then low like that. All right, so we'll say high temp and then low temp here. Okay, there we go. And we'll say, what is that actually? Is there a better name for that than just saying high? So temp max, temp min. Yeah, I think that's fine. Doesn't need to be too crazy. Didn't we not, let's see, because it doesn't look like it's using my pop-ins because we never actually got to the styling yet. So yeah, I think that's good. So we're going to have our input to actually select the city. We probably need to have a button here as well. So we'll do button and say class submit city like this, and we'll just say search like that. I think that should be good. And then we'll have our current weather here. I think that's good. And then we'll just have class weather like this. All right. So let's get to our styling here. Like, once again, we're not going to get too crazy within the styling here, because I actually don't have a comp to go off, so we're not really using anything. So we'll just do our best here to make it not look entirely hideous. So once again, let me just target the height here on our body, and we'll say 100 VH. We're going to use the display grid method here to center everything, and we'll say place items to the center here. So that'll push it all down there. And then we can say font family. We'll do our pop-ins here. Let's see if it gives me this back here. What the heck's going on? So we'll say pop-ins, or we'll do, I think, sans serif. Let's see, what did I do here? Because I know this is, let's go back to here. Yeah, this is sans serif, so just grab that like that. And there we go. All right, we'll just close this one up. And we'll close that back up. So, once again, actually, we can probably use a lot of our styles from our previous project here to save us some time. So for like the button here, we can do this. So we'll come back here, we'll do our button, give it a nice little style here. And then what we can also probably do is our input and this and this. So let's copy all this as well. So that'll give us most of those styles from the previous project to make things a little bit easier. So it's going to take our input and put it into a flex display flex here, and then by default we want it to go into a column. And then probably here, let's do, what do we give this class name again on the index here? Let's just probably close that. We should be done. Current weather. So current weather, we'll do this as display flex. Okay. And we don't want this to be in a row, so we'll change the flex direction to a column. And then let's add some gap here. So we'll do gap, and we'll do 32 pixels like that to get some separation there. And then because I think how we set this up, so, oh wait, sorry, wait a minute. It's this is weather, not current weather. All right. And then once again, I don't really care for the button to take up the whole space here, so we can say align self, and we can do a flex start here. All right, so there we go. And I think that's good. I think that actually maybe a little too much gap. See, this is where you can kind of run into some issues while using gap, because say for example we don't want this button being so far away. Well, what we could do is just wrap it in a div, and that would probably solve our issue. So we could do something like that. So that's one case where sometimes the gap isn't what you want to do. Otherwise you'll have to, you know, do some wrapping here. So I won't give this a class because I'm not really going to do any styling to it, so there's really no need to. And then for the button itself, since we only have one at the moment, we can just do a margin on the top, and let's just do something like 8 pixels because we don't want it too far away. Maybe like even 12. I think that looks good. Okay. So once again, I think for this we can probably give it a fixed width and a fixed width to make it look a little bit better. So we'll do a width of, let's try 400 pixels, and that'll just kind of make it take up a little bit more space here. And then for the weather, what I'm thinking we do is once again something similar to how we did our timer. We just kind of do a row here, and we'll just display all the information. So how we have it now, so we have current weather, and then we have temp info. So what we'd want to do here is let's just do something for now and say Detroit, since that's what we kind of have in there to kind of get what it'll look like. And then for the current weather, we'll type out, or we'll target this, and we'll do a display flex here. So that'll put it into a row. We don't want that. Flex direction into a column, which is more what we're looking for. And then we can do or target the temp info here. So we'll say temp info, and we'll do a display of flex. Now this one you want into a row, and then let's add some gap here. So we'll target column gap, and what we could also do here is just target gap in general. I know throughout this these two projects I've been mainly targeting specifically row or column, and gap will do both of them. So for example, if we want it to have the same gap for the row and the column, you can just say gap 32, and that'll kind of add that. But since that's not what we're looking for, we can just target what we specifically want, and we can say column gap, and we'll do something like 16. Now the issue is here, let's see here. So I don't think, wait a minute, let me look at something here. So temp info, let's just do minimize this a little bit, and maybe a little bit more so I can see here. So right now I don't think we're actually seeing any gap in between here. So let's see. So temp info, column gap. Oh, we forgot pixels. That's why. All right, so there we go. And we can probably make, let's see here. So we also probably, let's just do like align items to the center here, and we'll put Detroit. Or sorry, that'll put Detroit into the center. And then we want to lastly just, should we put this below or above? Might be better above, right? Yeah, I think above will probably be the better way to do this. So I mentioned this in our previous project. So for example, we have things in a way that when you define something as flex, you kind of get the order that you specify here inside of the HTML, but we also have another option that we could do to reorder these without having to kind of mess with our markup here. So when we target weather here, and we so current weather is a flex item, if we actually specify the order here to 1, and then I believe because we didn't specify the order of this div, so so maybe we'll say class weather search, maybe we'll call that. And then if we target that, so we'll say weather search, and we say order 2, that'll flip-flop them here. So we don't actually need to rearrange your HTML. Now, in this scenario, we probably could have just rearranged HTML. It might have been a little bit easier, but I wanted to show you that we don't always have to do that when messing with Flex children here. All right, so now what we want to do is, so on our actual temp info here, we have the H2, so we'll say temp info H2, right? And we probably want to get these a little bit smaller of a font size. They're quite big right now. So maybe we even actually say, instead of current temperature, maybe we'll just say temperature like this, because I think that takes up quite a bit of space. So temperature like that. And then let's see here. So let's see. Let's just do like 57. We'll just fill these in by default here. So 57. I don't know. We'll just say 60. I think it was, and then we will say, let's see. Maybe like 42. All right. So that's kind of what we're going to get here with that. So I'm not really sure how I feel about the look of that. It looks kind of weird. Because all these are so maybe we'll just say temp like this to kind of make that look a little bit better. So we have 57, and I believe what we can do here is, let's see. So let's see here. So let's increase the font size on those paragraph tags a little bit. So they're a little small. So we'll target these, and we'll just say font size of, I don't know, let's do 18 pixels. I think 16 by default. Let's try 20. I think that looks good. And let's do a little bit more spacing here. Let's do like 32 pixels between the three. All right. And then on the current weather H1 that we have, let's do a margin. See, here's an example. Do we want to do, so current weather, it's going to be between these two. So yeah, that'd be fine to do an actual using gap again for this. So we'll say row gap this time, and we'll do 32 pixels. Maybe like 16 pixels. I think that's better. All right. Yeah, there we go. All right. So now that we have that, I think that's kind of the best we're going to do it here for now. We're not going to get too crazy with this. So let's kind of get into the logic of how this is going to work. So we have the temp info here, and we want to target all three of these here. So first off, let's actually create references to these inside of our JavaScript file here. So we'll say current temp, and we'll set this equal to a document.query selector, and then we'll target our current temp here. And let's make this a little bit bigger again. And then let's just copy this down 3 more times, and we'll say high temp, and then low temp. And then what do we just say? Where these is high and low. Okay. So we'll do high, and then we'll also do low here. Okay. And then what we'll do here is, so if we look in our console, we can see that we have this object here. So what we want to display here is actually going to be, let's do, so we have, it's going to be data.main. So we'll just say, so let's do, so current temp dot inner HTML is going to equal get weather dot data, and we'll say dot main and dot temp. Okay, and then we'll copy this down 3 more times. So then we'll say high temp, and then also low temp here. And then we'll just do, so temp underscore max and temp underscore min. All right, and that should add it to the browser here, or sorry, into our file here. So as you can see now, we get this rounded value, which is everything coming back from the API. So one thing we can do here to kind of remove this weird decimal look is we can just actually do, let's surround these in a parenthesis and a math dot floor again, like that, and that'll kind of get rid of that decimal here, and it will round it down. Or we could do math dot round, and I think it's just going to round it to the nearest temperature. So as you can see, it went to 58 there. Whatever really works. I think we'll just do the math dot round. So we'll say math dot round here, and then we'll do that. So that should put it down to 61. And then we have math dot round here. Oops, round. And then we have our low here. All right, so there we go. Now what we want to do, so we're outputting everything to our to the browser from the API correctly, but the last thing we want to do is kind of be able to search based on the city and kind of dynamically show this data here, because right now we're statically assigning Detroit as the current city we want to get info for. So we'll close this up here, and then on our input here, which has the we didn't give it a class, so we'll just say class and city input here. And then we can target this inside of our JavaScript file here. So we'll save this, and then we'll say const city, and we'll set this equal to a document.query selector, and then we'll target our city input here. So then what we also want to do is target our button here. So we have submit city, so we'll say const we'll do search city, and then equals a document.query selector, and then we have the actually this one was called submit city. All right, and there we go. Hello John, should I learn TypeScript if I use Vue 3? Is it a good approach to use TypeScript with Vue or just JavaScript? To be honest with you, I haven't actually used TypeScript with Vue or TypeScript in general. I really haven't had the need to learn it yet. I know there is benefits to using it, but I have just stuck with have just mainly stuck with using the JavaScript when using Vue 3. So I guess that's not really a good answer, but I guess that's kind of where I stand. I haven't used it, but I don't see a reason to not learn it. I just haven't had a reason to. So now that we have our search city button here, let's actually create an event listener for this. So add event listener, and then we will run a function here. So we'll listen for a click, and then we'll have our callback. Okay. Now inside of here, what we want to do is, let's see here. So when we run this function, we would already have the value here. So pretty much all I need to do is we need to run at this function, or we need to just say city.value here, right? So that should work. But the problem is now I don't think it's going, if I reload this here, I think we're statically assigning all the data here, so that's why we're still seeing data. So now whenever we click on search city, we want to run the function called get chords here, which probably isn't a good name for this function, because we're doing more than just getting the chords here. I think when we first created this function, we had a more initial purpose to this function, but we didn't really separate the two because we didn't need to. So we'll just call this get weather like this, and get weather and get weather. All right, so there we go. So now if we do something like, let's do Boston here, we should see we get Boston's weather, but the one thing we're not doing is actually changing the city here. So do we already have a reference to that? I don't think we do. So if we look at current weather here, we have the city title. So we'll copy this and then come over here. So we'll just do a copy here, and we'll say city title, and then city title. Now I don't recall what the actual output for that was, so let's just do console here, and we'll do get weather, and then let's inspect this here so we can see what that call had attached to it for the actual well, couldn't we just use the city they typed in, right? Yeah, we could probably just use that. Yeah, that'd probably make the most logical sense there. So what we'll do here is we'll say city title dot inner HTML is going to equal the city dot value here. All right, and then let's see. So we got a bad request because we probably didn't have anything inside of there, right? So we take a look. If we type in something now, like let's do I don't even know what that is. So Boston here. So if I click on search, you can now see we're going to get Boston. Now, a few things that we probably should do here is when we first load into this application, we probably don't want to run anything, because right now we are just kind of showing you some generic things here, but let's just do a display none here. So I'll go to our style sheet, we'll say display none like this. Oops, what did I do there? So display none, and then we'll do a display and set that to none. Okay, so it shouldn't be hypothetically showing here. So display, oh, again, it's a specificity thing, so we want to take this down. Or we could just do an important here, but we'll just add it to the very bottom here, and that should hide it. Okay, so we no longer see the city, and that's what we want. We don't want to see the city till we search in a city. So when we actually search here, we are going to, let's see here, what do we want to do? Because we don't want to do this every time. So we want to check something. Let's see here. Well, if we remove it once, it shouldn't be so yeah, we can just remove it. We don't actually need to do that. So I don't think we have a reference to that div here in the JavaScript file. So current weather. So we'll just take this right here. So we'll say current weather, and we'll say current weather here. Okay. And then when we search, we just want to target that div. So we'll say current weather dot class list dot remove, and we'll just say display none. Okay. So there we go. So now when we search up a city like Detroit, if I hit search, it's going to remove that display none class and show us the actual weather for that city. And then if we add another one, let's say like Boston here, we should still see it within the actual view here. All right, so I believe that's all we simply need to do here for this application. Let me see what time it is. So yeah, I think we're going to run out of time to finish the rest of these projects here for today, but we did finish these two, and these were probably the most time-consuming ones, I'd have to say. The countdown timer definitely took a lot of time. For something as simple, there's a lot of logic into that. So when we stream next weekend, we'll do part 2 of this, and we'll finish up the navigation, the Rgba switcher, and also the keyboard event codes ones. So yeah, I appreciate you guys stopping by the stream today. If you guys did, I would really appreciate you guys leaving a like on it down below. I will have the stream available to you guys on my channel, so yeah, if you want to go back and rewatch any of the projects that we did here today, you can have the opportunity to do that on the channel. But anyways, guys, I will catch you guys next time. Hopefully you guys all have a great day.